So, welcome everyone to Change Your Habits, Brain, and Your Life. I'm Valerie Kausen.
And I'm Gary Heine. And, I spent the last 20 plus years in the coffee business, and I worked with coffee farmers around the world and to improve their coffee and to bring more money into their communities and opened up cafes here in Louisville and helped to manage a lot of employees and then was part of three or four nonprofits co-founding, and Valerie started one of them with me. And so I mention that because 25 years ago, if you had told me that I would have done these things, I would have said, no, who are you talking about? But I was able to do them by taking small steps. And that's one thing I learned, just taking one step and moving forward, taking another step and moving forward. So I'm very interested in sharing those ideas with people, small steps that we can all take to make change in our life, in our family life, in our neighborhood, in our community. And
Yes,
that's what we're bringing you tonight.
yes, and you are a master at that, and I'm so glad that you're able to articulate it as you do. And I have been interested in those kinds of things myself for a long time. I've been meditating for about 20 plus years, and it's the single most important thing that I do for myself on a daily basis. So these seemingly small things can really make a world of difference in how we respond to the world and how we interact with the world. So I too am fascinated by what we can do with our attention and how we can change our lives by the kindness that we show to ourselves and to this world. And so we want to talk about those kinds of exciting topics today, and also about the brain, which I'm so interested in, and how we can change it by our actions and our intentions. So we are going to talk about these powerful insights today, and those
How your
insights
habits and behavior create your world.
change undesired habits by changing your brain. That's we're going to talk about personal success rituals also.
And would you say just a bit about what personal success ritual is, just so everyone will know?
I
And we'll
will.
go into it more later.
I will. So a personal success ritual is a term that's coined by some big business guru some years ago, but we learned about it from one of our mentors, Eben Pagan, who talks about personal success rituals being intentional acts which we do for our benefit on a daily basis.
Right.
So the last one we'll go over is how to reprogram your brain and life with compassion to be healthier, happier, and more connected to those you love. And at the end of all this, we'll also tell you about our online course, just so you're not surprised that we're going to tell you about that. But that's going to be a very short piece at the end, in case you'd like to stay on for that. So how your habits and behavior create your world.
It used to be thought that once your brain cells were formed in your early childhood and your early development, there couldn't be any more change. You just had to basically stick with the number of brain cells that you have. But now scientists have shown that this isn't true at all, and they've coined a term called neuroplasticity to talk about our brain, and that it's actually very changeable. And we're going to talk about some of the ways that we can change our brain to benefit us.
So it's just very fascinating to me how it's like a new superhighway that we're creating every time we do something repetitively, that our brain responds. If we imagine it, it responds if we do it. And there's so much research and so much science behind it that it really is such a rich topic. So we're just going to just skim the surface today, but it gives a little bit of a perspective on it that perhaps some of us don't think about.
Mm-hmm. And so as you repeat these habits, your brain circuitry grows to support what you repeatedly do and make it easier for you to do the next time.
Yeah, and what you repeatedly think about as well. So it's very interesting. Our brains are so magnificent.
So understanding the parts of your brain can help you more easily create new personal success rituals. And don't anybody let your eyes glaze over. We're going to talk about the three parts of your brain in a very simple way that's easy to understand.
It's very sexy, actually, right?
It's very sexy.
So did you know that you have three parts of your brain? The
Mm-hmm.
first one is the reptilian brain. They talk about the most
Ancient.
ancient. That's right.
The old mammalian brain, or the limbic system, and that is the brain that developed with emotions and feelings. And then the newest part of the brain is the neocortex, or the thinking brain, which was the most recent development.
So this reptilian brain, we think about it as, or it's been stated that it's really the housekeeping brain. It's the one that is the fight or flight, the one that is in survival, and that we share it with the snakes and the lizards. And
Right.
fight or flight response, temperature control, defending territory, hunger, all
Hunger,
of these
sex, right.
basic
Things
kind
that,
of things.
yeah, that happen, that we do automatically to improve our chances of survival. And that part of our brain, developed originally millions of years ago, and it's still very, very powerful and important in the things that we do in our life.
So that second part, the next part that developed is the mammalian brain, and we share this with dogs and cats, and it's really about emotions and feelings. And so there's a different capacity there. It controls moods and memory and hormone. So we all know that experience, I'm sure, about smelling something and feeling something and having the stress levels go up and having our pleasure centers activated and all those different things that our emotions are so wonderful at bringing forth.
And I was just reading in yesterday's New York Times that they've trained some dogs to be still in an MRI machine, that takes pictures of your brain. And so they're able to now see what parts of a dog's brain lights up when they're hungry or when they're feeling pleasure. And it turns out that they are the same parts of the brain as in humans. So this is just something that's newly being proved by science. Of course, all of us dog lovers already knew that, but
yes,
it's very
we
interesting.
can see it in their eyes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the newest part being the neocortex, the thinking brain.
Shared with primates, yes. And it's the part of our brain that gives us the capacity for thinking, for social interactions, bonding with other people, and making plans.
So,
And our ancestors developed tool-making skills as this part of the brain came into being a long time ago. And also as it grew larger, it was what enabled us to differentiate ourselves in a huge way from chimpanzee ancestors so that we could begin to use language.
yes, which we're not sure if that was a good thing or not, but
Right.
we're an experiment in the making, right?
That's right.
So why is it good to know that we have three brains that are working all at the same time?
Good question. It's good to know because we think we control our world by using our thinking brain. We think we're logical, we know what's going on, and we do what we need to do, and we plan our life and get along with people as we need to, and we think we're in control of everything, but it's not actually true. It's actually the older, more instinctual and emotional parts of our brain that control most of what we do. And so it's good to know that that's actually what's going on.
So it's good to know ourselves. I think that's the bottom line. So getting to know those parts of our brains will help us to be able to change our behaviors and change our lives through those behaviors if we know what we're dealing with.
And so these three different parts of our brain, serve us well in in certain things. Each one of them is the master. But the connections among the three aren't that sophisticated, so it's something to keep in mind, that it's, well, the next slide kind of shows it.
It's a
Shows
free-for-all.
it well. Yeah. So
So
sometimes these different parts of our brains, they can create conflicts with each other, fighting for control.
So we want to take action that's controlled by our thinking, but sometimes the emotions come in and take over, and the physical, mental, and emotional distress that comes along with that. So understanding that we really have to work in concert with all parts of ourselves and their different languages that they speak.
So it can be helpful to know that our three brains are taking care of us in their own ways. And it's good to know that our brain parts can also cause conflicts among themselves that can cause us distress and confusion. So that's where some of that distress and confusion comes from. That's a relief to know for me.
Yeah, just to understand that the fight or flight parts of us and the emotional parts of us and the thinking parts of ourselves do speak different languages. You know, the pre-verbal part of ourselves, perhaps the more reptilian part of ourselves, and then the mammalian, which is the language of emotion, and then the thinking, which is really in ideas and concepts. So I just find it very interesting.
So the second part, the second insight that we're going to talk about is change undesired habits by changing your brain.
So our actions and thinking, how we see the world, become habitual over time. And we find a behavior that has at least short-term benefits for us.
So when we're young, we find a way to be safe or a way that we think we can get more love, and so we repeat that behavior to gain the benefit. And new pathways are created to support those new behaviors, and they keep working and working for our whole life.
Yeah, it's very interesting that these pathways are are the most tried and true, and so they're the ones that our brain uses more and more because they're in place, and we have to then use our will and our intention to create new ones if we've outgrown these behaviors and these thoughts and these habits. Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about that.
So creating new success rituals builds neural pathways that make these new behaviors easier to maintain. And I love that idea that there's always the opportunity, or I should say most of the time, the opportunity to create these new pathways for new growth, and that we're never too old, we're never unable to make a choice about where we're placing our attention. So getting to know them now is an important piece of our evolution and our connection to the rest of our life that's going to be more compassionate and harmonious. Did you want to talk about that, Gary?
So a habit is an unconscious behavior that is repeated to gain a benefit. And this benefit may have become over time when it is unhealthy for you. Something that you learned when you were 5 years old and doesn't work for you anymore when you're 35 or 45 or 65. So a success ritual is a behavior that we repeat consciously to gain a benefit. We use our intention.
And that success ritual takes advantage of the power of intention, or an aim that guides an action to transform our lives. So there's a lot of science that shows that our energy precedes us, or our thoughts actually have a tangible energy field, and not talking in any way woo-woo spirituality here. We're talking about measurable electromagnetic field that we emit, and that our thoughts and intentions precede us. They are there before we get there, before we actually take the action. They're there paving the way for us.
It's hopeful.
It's hopeful if we're thinking nice thoughts, or that's not the right word, but thinking thoughts that are going to support us in the evolution of our kindness and our compassion. So these healthy success rituals can help all the parts of our brain work together.
And it takes approximately 30 days to create a new success ritual. So as we begin to create a new habit or success ritual, our brain starts to lay down these neurons, this pathway, and it supports these new behaviors right away and continues to support them as we repeat them. And creating a new healthy habit is easy at first because it's exciting, it's new, and then 10 to 14 days in, it becomes a little more difficult because old ways of doing things, or still have the neural pathways up there and they want to have something to do. And then if you continue to repeat these healthy habits with your intention because it's something that you want to do and you're showing up for yourself in this way, then about 3 weeks it gets easier again and the momentum increases, and it's like going up a hill. And so that at about 30 days you're at the top of the hill and you can just slide down the other side with this new healthy success ritual.
Yeah, and so any of us who have started a new exercise program may have found this experience that, there's an excitement at the beginning, and then there's a sort of drudgery that happens, and then all of a sudden it's just something we do. We don't even think about it. We just get up and we do it. It's not even a choice anymore. It's just the fabric of our life has taken over, the momentum of it. The benefit is so much greater than the effort to not do it. So just to review the powerful insights that we have gone over is how your habits and behavior create your world. And
change undesired habits by changing your brain with personal success rituals, and how to reprogram your brain and life with compassion is the next one, to be healthier, happier, and more connected to those you love.
We like this one.
Yeah.
So how to use compassion as a tool to be healthier, happier, and more connected to those you love. And I'll say that to be connected to yourself as well, that this is the place that it all begins, and when we have acceptance and compassion for ourselves, that we can have that kind of connection with those around us. So I love this little image, and it takes courage to be vulnerable and to show ourselves. So what is compassion? And I love this image of the carrots holding each other because there's just something so tender about it. Wanted to open it up to those of you who are near your computer, if you want to put in your chat box just a couple of words about what you feel like compassion is. What is your experience of compassion? If someone wanted you to define it, what would it actually be? And I would say for me that compassion is about seeing through someone else's eyes and accepting them as they are, and knowing that who they are and what they are, I can't understand because I'm not them. So having the compassion to really accept someone as they are, that's part of compassion for me.
And Maria typed kindness, not judgment.
Mm-hmm.
That's great, yeah. And for me, I think about feeling the suffering of others and wanting to ease that suffering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does have the quality of some sort of softness all around, just being able to take the edge away from our interaction with people and to be open and to be available. So compassion, that's part of the topic that we're going into here.
Mm-hmm.
So I love this quote by Mother Teresa, and it says, "The biggest disease today is not leprosy or tuberculosis, but rather the feeling of not belonging." And I chose to insert this here because to me that lack of compassion for ourselves or for other people create a sense of separation, and that we don't feel like we really belong anywhere when we don't have the sense of connection. And so that word compassion really marries itself to belonging, that we actually belong somewhere, that we're feeling at home somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
when we have an open heart to life.
Well said.
And some time ago I heard this story about the Dalai Lama, His Holiness, that he was asked when he first came to the West, I believe, and was asked about self-hatred. And his response was that he did not understand the question, and he had to ask many times what someone meant by that. And that in his experience that there was no such thing as self-hatred in his culture. And that really brought to me, a lot of compassion to our state in the Western world of what we deal with, that we're actually being programmed through all of the media and all of our interaction in whatever level. That's a huge topic, but the interaction we have with feeling like there's always something wrong with us, and that this then brings about this sense of separation from self, and in turn a sense of separation from our community and from the earth.
Mm-hmm.
So there he is, that sweet Dalai Lama man. We got to see him when he was in Louisville a few months ago, and he said during that talk that last century was the century of wars and violence, and that this century is the century of compassion. And I like to hold that as my intention and my understanding, that that's what we're all moving into, this ability, this emerging kindness that's coming forth.
Mm-hmm. And as we create success rituals that nurture and grow this compassion for each other, and for all the beings we share this earth with, the plants, the animals, will change life on earth for the better. And we're doing that as we practice our compassion. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how we do that.
So this is Mathieu Ricard, who we also got to see at this conference that we were at around the time that the Dalai Lama was in Louisville, Kentucky. And these all of these things on his head are to measure his response during meditation. And we got to see Dr. James Doty, a neurosurgeon from Stanford, also speak. And he's been working for many decades with the Dalai Lama on science to support meditation and what actually happens in the brain when we meditate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that picture of Mathieu Ricard and all of his work.
Yeah, he's a Buddhist monk and a long-time meditator, so he was a great subject for studying what exactly is going on in a human brain when a person meditates.
And it was shown
They found that
go ahead. That the areas of the brain that are working when a meditator feels compassion, that they continue to develop and grow during meditation. And even after meditation, that they continue to grow. So it's not, it's like you put this in motion, like this, or it's a muscle that we're growing. So we're building our compassion muscle by just sitting in silence. And so any of these personal success rituals that we do in whatever context, to me, is putting in motion that building our muscle of compassion.
He also said there are two levels of human compassion. A biological part that's built in, part of who we are, and then a part that can be developed by training, such as meditation. And I thought that was incredibly interesting.
Yeah, I do too, that it's not just one or the other, that we're not just born compassionate, and some of us are born more compassionate than others. It's that we're all born with a part that's biological, and we all have the ability to increase it by our focus and attention of what we choose to focus on in our minds and in our thoughts and with our practices. So the idea that compassion is actually biologically at the core of who we are, that changes things in my mind about the world.
And our compassion developed over millions of years to make it more likely that our ancestors, their offspring, would survive, and so that we could be here today listening to this webinar. Because the more we got along with fellow humans, the more we were interested in them, have empathy for them, cared about how they got along, then that compassion that was within us helped us get along and survive. And we've had a lot of hundreds of thousands of years of hard times that we had to survive, so it served us well.
Yeah, so practicing compassion makes you happier. And this is a beautiful picture of my niece Jessica, who really brings so much happiness to this world. So she's a very compassionate person. So compassion and the related tolerance, forgiveness, and love are our default mode.
when these feelings and qualities are expressed, they have a profound effect on the giver as well as the receiver.
So the more that we actually give compassion to another person, the more we experience it in our own self. Yeah, so
And
compassion, tolerance, forgiveness, love. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, within days we get along better with others when we begin to explore these and grow these qualities in us. We become happier, our blood pressure goes down, our stress hormones are decreased, and we're healthier. So it really is a path to peace, happiness, and great health.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful thing that we found with all the research we've done with meditation, is that when the mind is relaxed, that the body actually comes into a greater sense of health and well-being naturally, because that state of compassion is our natural wellness. It's our natural core and our natural wellness. So caring for others is deeply ingrained in us. It is who we are. And we have just forgotten that compassion is at our core.
And now science is finding that with training, especially meditation training, we can return to this compassionate heart of who we are, which is very exciting news because it's such a simple practice. It can be very complicated, and people make it very complicated, but the truth of it is it's very simple. And the way we change the world, one of the ways we change the world is with our mirror neurons, and they're this part of our brain. And when I'm feeling compassionate and I come into your presence, any one of you, your brain, the mirror neurons in your brain senses the compassion in my brain, and it begins to create compassion. And so when you go to someone, into someone else's presence, then your compassion that helped grow by seeing me starts someone else's compassion growing. And the same thing works with forgiveness and gratitude and love. And so our brain wants us to get along, and so that's how we can change the world, by changing ourselves.
Yes. And a lot of the research also shows that the negative influences are much more dominant, and that we have to really choose these compassionate, tolerant, forgiveness states to make them spread. They are contagious, but like anything, like saying no to something is much more final to the flow of energy than a yes. So if we think of compassion as a yes and reactivity and violence as a no, that we are wanting to open up the yes to life through that compassionate focus. So the idea that James Doty brought to us a few months ago is about survival of the kindest, that the old idea of survival of the fittest that Charles Darwin brought forth in one of his early writings, that only had about 2 points in his book. Only twice was that mentioned, survival of the fittest. And love and cooperation and kindness, actually love specifically, was mentioned 95 times in that same book. And that someone came along and picked out that one idea and made it a cultural phenomenon, really, that was the belief, that that's who we are. And science is really now showing us that that is not who we are, that who we are really is about cooperation and compassion and kindness. So this idea that...
So this old story of competition and only the strong survive, and fight your way to the top is just a story that was created a long time ago, and a lot of us have believed it, but like Valerie said, it's simply not true.
Yeah, so we have the choice to come back. So we want to talk a little bit about mindfulness and how mindfulness builds compassion. So becoming aware of our thoughts, feelings, actions, and becoming intentional That's one definition of mindfulness, that it's just about witnessing. It's about becoming aware rather than trying to change anything. It's just about the actual ability to know what's going on in our environment.
And not judging it, but just letting it be okay, just noticing it. And as we become more mindful and create new success rituals for these parts of ourselves, we change our brains, behaviors, lives, and the world.
So we wanted to talk about 2-minute success rituals. And this is just something to play with that we feel like even 2 minutes a day can make a huge difference in the world and in your life. And having consistency around something even as small and insignificant as 2 minutes a day can open up new pathways in your brain. And that's pretty exciting to me. So we wanted to do a 2-minute success ritual, and we wanted to just do one on noticing your breath. So if you're in a place where you can just close your eyes, and we're just going to take 2 minutes of just dropping into the awareness of your breath coming in and out of your body. And just to notice what's happening in your mind, and if you wander off, that you just come back to that simple in and out of the breath. And perhaps your body wants to relax a little bit in the presence of this awareness coming into the center. And again, nothing to do, just to allow your awareness to become more present. Perhaps what sounds are you hearing? What sensations are going on in your body? And again, returning to the breath. The in and the out. Perhaps noticing that your heart is beating. And again, if you wander, just coming back. That mindfulness is a practice. So just like that, 2 minutes, just a reboot of your nervous system and your mind. Your stress level can come down. It really does change the blood pressure, and your heart rate reduces. It's a very powerful 2 minutes just to turn inward. So hopefully you got a taste of what just 2 minutes can be of benefit. And we wanted to talk about some other 2-minute success rituals.
So we just noticed your breath, and you can also do simple self-validation, like change starts with me, or I'm at peace in this moment, or why am I so relaxed, that kind of thing. You can
Why am I so
move.
wonderful? Why am I so amazing?
Why am I so much fun? You can move. When you move, it changes your brain, your thinking, and your feelings, and you can dance. You can walk. You can walk. You can walk inside your house. I remember one time having a big, intense standoff with someone, and we just moved. We walked around the dining room table one way, and then we walked around the other, and it totally broke the impasse. It was kind of a beautiful thing. But you can also walk out around your house. You can walk in your yard. You can walk around the block, and it's really effective.
I think I was the other person in that impasse, and it did really work.
I believe you were there, yes.
So there's also some really simple body presencing things that you can do, like putting your middle and index fingers on opposite elbows. It's like you're crossing your arms, and they're points that will help you to come into a rhythm just by simply putting your hands with intention on particular points on the body, that there can be a return to some grace.
An eating ritual, chew 30 times on each bite for 2 minutes and see what you notice.
Or whatever it is that you come up with.
Right.
So if you have any ideas in this moment that you wanted to put into the chat box, our invitation is that you try this with us for 30 days, that you do a commitment of 2 minutes every day of doing something. And I would suggest that it is the same thing each day to get the feeling of that momentum and what it feels like to actually do it, get it done on an automatic level rather than always having to choose to do it, that it's actually a non-negotiable. Just like for some of us, flossing our teeth is a non-negotiable, brushing our teeth, that it's just something that we do. And then we don't have to spend any...
teeth work? Would that be an example
of a 2-minute success ritual?
Uh-huh.
Could, I guess, anything you put intention to could be. So we suggest that you use a timer and that you track your success. And that means writing it down, in my opinion, or putting it into your smartphone. But I would suggest using a piece of paper, just old school, and having a check mark of doing it. And that helps the kinesthetic understanding, and it just imparts the idea that you're showing up for yourself, that you're doing it, that you're not gonna disappoint yourself, that you're not gonna abandon yourself in this kind of a commitment.
And it's a great way to pat yourself on the back to see how far you've come. If you have a tough day when it's hard to get that 2 minutes in, if there's anybody out there that would be willing to commit to 2 minutes a day for 30 days, and wants to write it in the chat box what you'll do, feel free to do that. I'm going to try the breath, noticing my breath for 2 minutes a day.
Yeah, I'm going to do the holding of the elbows. I really like that one. It feels like such a calming of the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have a checklist that I did put in the resources of the Start Meeting page, but I also will send it in an email tomorrow so that you can download it. And it's just a 5 weeks of circles that you can check off. So you'll have 10 weeks if you wanted them. But it's just nice to have something to actually say, I did this, yay, good job.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Breath, Susan says breath for her also, great.
Wonderful, thank you.
And Maria's going to do the 2 minutes of breath at 9 a.m. Carrie says mindful breathing. All right.
Wonderful.
That's great.
That is great, thank you. Yeah, so knowing that we're not only doing it for ourselves, but we are doing it for those that we care about and for those people that we haven't even met, the people that we walk down the street and are around, that we're constantly influencing and being influenced by.
Yeah, and then we had another, we will commit to breath, so I'll be thinking about you all when I'm breathing for 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the nice things about having a community.
It is a nice thing,
All right.
yeah. So we wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking about our course, Beginning Meditation for Anyone. And we did finish a few weeks ago our first run of the 5-week course, and it was so wonderful. And we had so much great feedback, and we're really excited to be offering it again. And it's going to be starting in November. And it's really a course that, in simple terms, that we're not using any religious connotation. It's just about really starting at the beginning how to place your body, what tools that you need to learn, and then we're doing actual guided meditations twice a week during the calls, and it's a very simple entry point into a meditation practice.
And starting with 5 minutes a day, because I know for many years it seemed like people talked about meditating for 30 minutes a day or 60 minutes a day, and it just always seemed like, how could I possibly find the time? I mean, that's just a common story that we like to tell ourselves, I think. How can I possibly find the time? But when I learned to do it with just 5 minutes a day, I felt like, I can do that. And so we start with 5 minutes a day, get used to that, and then every week we move it up a few minutes so that at the end of the 5 weeks we're meditating for 10 to 15 minutes a day, and it's created this new success ritual in a very simple way.
Yes. So science continues to discover all the benefits, and we're just going to list a few of them. Live with more peace and ease and relaxation. Live longer with more energy and clarity so you can enjoy your family and your children for longer.
Deepen connections with those you love, friends and family. Enjoy greater confidence and creativity. Regain clarity around who you are and where you're going.
And that seems to me a very important thing that we all need to do on a daily basis, is to reconnect with the version of ourself that is bigger than the stories or the incidents or the interactions that we might have that limit our understanding of who we are.
Share your innate compassion, forgiveness, and love with the world. Relax and soothe your nervous system on a daily basis, bringing you freedom from anxiety, stress, and fear. And that's so important because in our society, our nervous system always has to be on. There's so much noise and so many decisions to be made and so much input that it really is a beautiful thing when we can actually relax and soothe our nervous system.
Yes, yeah, sorry about that for going a little ahead of you there. I was just excited to read my quote.
You just were excited to look at yourself, weren't you?
I was. So being constantly on the run can cause stress on the mind and body, and stress can impair brain and body functions. Slowing down even momentarily can increase brain power and allow innate healing and creativity to return us to a calmer and clearer state, which everyone benefits from.
Yeah. And it seems like every week there's something new coming out, something new that's been discovered, some benefit of mindfulness and meditation, and it's really becoming a movement. They're teaching mindfulness and meditation in health centers and hospitals and schools and businesses across the country. It's really something that we all, hopefully we'll all learn it when we're in kindergarten. Well, we won't all, but someday our kids and their kids will learn it when they're in kindergarten.
That's right. So we just wanted to go over the modules. So in Module 1, Week 1, creating a strong foundation for meditation, simple building blocks and putting them together.
Module 2, why persistence or follow-through is the key to creating your meditation practice and the life you want. The third week, Module 3, how your brain and nervous system are being changed for the better by your daily commitment.
In the fourth module, meditating every day will deepen your self-acceptance, gratitude, and forgiveness, and why that changes everything. In Module 5, how you can change the world by your daily efforts and living on purpose. So we did obviously touch on a lot of these subjects today because they're some of our favorite topics, but we go more in depth in them and have exercises and meditations that really focus on these topics as well. So you get to live the change during the course. You get to really experience it. And one of the people that we had in the course last time said she had friends asking her if she had gone on antidepressants because she was so relaxed. I love that. And yeah, what was that?
So we've designed the course. She came up with the phrase, meditation, not medication.
That's right.
Yeah. So we've designed the course to ensure your success at creating a daily practice and we have a lot of tools that we include to support you along the way, as well as the small group, the community. It's a really beautiful way to learn. And then Valerie and I will be guiding you.
So the accountability of being in a community is wonderful momentum for the change. We would absolutely love to have you in the course, and just seeing how it has transformed people's lives is so satisfying and absolutely wonderful. So the letting go of the outcome and giving back, that part of what we are excited about is giving back to the community.
And one of the things I learned powerfully in my years of travel in the coffee-growing countries of the world was how the availability of clean water transformed people's and their families and their villages' life more than almost anything else. It seemed like a lot of villages around the world, the young girls are spending hours every morning, walking to the water holes and carrying these big, heavy buckets back. And so one of the things that we wanted to do with our business and with this course being part of it is we want to use part of the sales from the courses that we offer to purchase clean water systems for 10,000 villages around the world that currently do not have a source of clean water available. There's many more than that. So it's really an example of your personal transformation in creating a daily meditation practice creates planetary transformation, because you begin to transform your friends and your family, your co-workers, and people all around the world that don't have clean water right now. So it's a beautiful model to create transformation, starting with 5 minutes a day. That's what we were talking about at the very beginning, was creating small steps that can change the world, and that's actually the only way that you can change the world, is by taking small steps.
That's right. I agree. So we know that there are so many things that are clamoring for your attention and resources, and just taking the time to slow down like we did today and be silent and disengage, that it gives the opportunity to allow change to arise, that we're not making anything happen, we're just creating the environment for it to be able to happen. So nurturing this space and inward attention grows compassion for self and others. With this compassion comes a reduction of reactivity and ability to listen more clearly. You still there, Gary?
Yes, I am. In a world filled with people utilizing such tools to soothe the overtaxed nervous system, go ahead. Can you read the rest of that, Valerie?
I can, because that picture is just so dazzling. It's hard to really focus, isn't it?
Thank you. It is.
A world filled with people utilizing such tools to soothe the overtaxed nervous system is one where kindness and healthier choices have the chance to take hold and multiply, where we can actually make decisions based on our connection with life, our connection with love, our connection with each other, rather than the opposite of that, of disconnection from nature, disconnection from each other, disconnection from self. And I just love that image. Really brings it home. Like we are made of the earth, we're made of the elements of the earth, and here we are thinking that we're separate, but we're really not. So go ahead, sit down, and change your world, change our world.
In whatever ways that you will.
Yeah, in whatever ways just showing up today is changing your nervous system and the way that you perceive the world, perhaps. So remember that everything we do matters. And just like this wonderful image of the tree that says, we need help for my family in the rainforest. I don't know, those fingers, they just always make me laugh.
Yeah. So, does anyone have any questions? Thoughts, suggestions?
comments about how fabulous we
Comments,
are.
recipes.
Well, we are definitely happy that you have been here with us today, and it
Yeah.
brings out the best in us when we get to show up in these ways of service and of
Mm-hmm.
community and participating in the upliftment and the emergence of kindness in the world.
Mm-hmm. We were really grateful for your presence and for you showing up to be here tonight and changing the world in such a powerful way.
Right, so it's wonderful to meet some of you for the first time, and we'll be in touch. I'll send an email tomorrow with a replay of this. If you have anyone that you would like to share this with, we will have it up online, and we have some more webinars to come. So just remember that we're always coming back to the beginning, and we have the opportunity every moment to return to that sense of compassion and presence, and these 2-minute success rituals are one way to help us remember those on a daily basis.
So thanks everybody and good night.
All right, thank you.